3 Pints of Laughter was very kindly sponsored by All Truck and Trailer Parts UK. Cheers.
Terry, welcome. Thank you very much for being our first guest. Ollie and I are absolutely honoured because you are a hero of ours from the old Ipswich Town days.
You couldn't get anybody else then? So
No, exactly. It was a long list, but we found you eventually as well.
Yeah, good.
No, seriously, so we're delighted to have you join us.
It's good to be here.
One of the first facts I remember about you when I was a kid was that you were born in Singapore, and I couldn't quite work out how that would have happened.
Yes, born in Singapore, 28th of December 1958. And for those of you who have birthdays around Christmas, I sympathise with you because you normally get one present for birthday and for Christmas. So I do get two presents now, one for my birthday, one for Christmas. But in those days you didn't. But yeah, I was born in Singapore. Dad was in the Navy. Can't remember a thing about it. Moved back here to Suffolk when I was 2. Eventually got to Suffolk. We ended up in Petersfield, and my dad was demobbed from the Navy, and he ended up becoming a prison officer. But we ended up back in Suffolk, and I'm delighted that it's been our home for on and off ever since.
So this was in Lowestoft.
Yeah, Lowestoft.
You grew up as a kid.
Yeah.
So that would have been in the 60s. You were a Lowestoft boy going to school. What was 60s Lowestoft like?
Well, it was buzzing compared to what it is today. But I went to primary school, which was very good. Really enjoyed that. And I was a clever boy when I was younger. I soon lost that edge, and that soon went out of the window. And I was promoted a year at class.
Right.
So before I was promoted, the teacher used to ask me questions. They had a quiz and all that sort of thing. And the teacher would ask me questions, and I gave the answer for all the pupils. So I knew quite a bit. So I sort of peaked far too early. Moved up a year. Then I ended up at grammar school, Lowestoft Grammar School. I ended up there, past my 11 plus, I think it was, or 12 plus, I can't remember that. And I ended up there.
So you're probably a 6'2", 10-year-old, were you?
No, I wasn't that big then, I think. I played, we didn't have a football pitch, just had a sort of concrete square out of the back for the primary school, but they were playing football, and I played for the team, for the school team. But I played in goal. Right. In those days, of course, you didn't have gloves or anything else like that. So we had a green sort of roll neck, thick top.
Freezing cold in winter.
And I played in my first game, we lost 7-1.
Nice.
So I had no chance with all 7 goals. But I was quickly moved out of goal because I wasn't particularly good. I didn't want to be in goal. And I was told off by the games teacher because I talked too much.
While in goal?
To yourself, yeah. To anyone else.
That's
why you let in 7 goals.
And all that sort of thing. And I think they got fed up with me and allowed the attackers through. But no, I was told. And nowadays, you see in modern football, there's not enough talking.
Yeah.
But when I played, of course, there was a great deal of talking because you had to do that.
So did you went out onto pitch, were you put in defence? Were you a natural born defender, do you think? Or?
Yes, I was put in defence, sort of centre half. But in those days, this is how old I am, they had the 2 at the back, then the 3, and then the 5 up front, the 2-3-5 formation. That really is old school.
A bit like a Joe Royal formation.
Well, yeah, certainly not Kieran McKenna's, but yeah, it was different, and we just got stuck in. But I just had this. I wasn't quick. I never have been quick, so it wasn't a winger's job or a centre forward's job for me. I like to face the play. Just, as a goalkeeper, you're facing the play, and as a centre half and defender, you're facing the play. So, but I had an accident when I was younger, probably about 5 or 6, where I was smaller than the table. Believe it or not, one day I was smaller than the table.
Why are you looking at me?
I know, yeah. I was Ollie's height when he was 25. So, but there was a teapot on the table, but it had tea cozies. You remember the tea cozies? Yeah. And I thought it was a hat, so I've reached up to pull the hat off.
Yeah.
And I pulled been made freshly potted tea, and it landed on my right foot. So I was right-footed, right-handed anyway, but I was right-footed when I kicked the ball about, and it burnt my foot. So I had to then have treatment and see the doctor and everything else, and I couldn't then kick a ball with my right foot, so I started kicking with my left foot. So I became left-footed very strong left-footed.
So that teapot was responsible for
Yeah.
creating one of Ipswich Town's, Rangers, England's best ever left-sided centre-backs.
It was a fluke, but I say to parents, I don't recommend you do that to your children in the future. It's not a good way for them to become two-footed. But it was different, and it was in a way, it's a great job because at that time in football there wasn't a lot of reasonably good left-footed players.
Yeah.
You had the right-footed players all across the back four, as it became then, and virtually, there was no left-footed players in the team. There seemed to be a big dearth of, good left-footed players. So
not many people dropped a teapot on their foot then.
I wouldn't advise it, but it was just pure luck.
So at what stage at school did you, or maybe your sports teacher or family, realise that actually you had a really good talent and could possibly make it in the game?
Well, I was playing football whenever I could. And my mum and dad got me a Christmas present of a leather football. I had the laces as well, but the old style leather football, and I treasured that. That was the best Christmas present I ever had because I love football. You didn't see hardly any football on the TV, but my dad or my uncle used to take me to watch Lowestoft Town at Crown Meadow. I never watched the games because I used to play football with all the kids behind the goal, and I enjoyed that far more. Then I'd come when the final whistle went. I'd come and see my dad or my uncle, and we'd go home. And I always remember being at Crown Meadow when Frida Payne had the hit with Band of Gold. Can you remember that? That was early 70s. Oh, you
weren't
can't
born,
remember
were
that? No. For any of the older people watching this, then it was Frida Payne, Band of Gold. And whenever I hear that, I just automatically think of playing football and being at Crown Meadow, Lowestoft.
So those footballs were like medicine balls, aren't they?
Yeah, they were pretty heavy. But I used to dribble the ball to school. You're on the pathways, and you play a 1-2 off the wall and things like that.
Yeah.
Left foot, right foot, and all that. So the ball was always a friend to me. It wasn't an enemy.
Yeah.
So I always had dreams of passing the ball, and my friend and I, David, would go and play on the beach as well at Lowestoft. In those days, it was washed. The tide came in and out twice a day, so it was washed. So it was quite hard sand, rather than the really soft sand, which is impossible to. It was like beach football.
Yeah.
And we used to play on the beach, and whenever we could, and put the jumpers down for goalposts, and we'd commentate on the balls. Charlton to Best, and Best turns and shoots, and what I say, we'd do that.
Who were you in the playground?
I was everybody.
Yeah.
I was everybody.
I was always Brian Robson.
Brian Robson. Oh yeah.
I don't know why.
Brian
I didn't really sport Man
Your
United.
injury brain.
Yeah. Exactly.
No. Well, but he was the best player I played alongside.
Yeah.
In terms of guts and determination and leadership, he was just immense, and he was, and he probably still could be the captain of England's drinking team.
Yeah.
So that was another bonus.
Maybe that was why he was my hero.
Yeah.
And of course, for you, his injury in the 1990 early on in the World Cup meant you captained the team that went on that tremendous run.
Yeah, as well, and he was injured in 1986 as well. Remember the shoulder? He put his shoulder out.
Was when Wilkins got sent off, wasn't it?
Wilkins sent off. Yeah. They never played again in the competition.
Yeah.
But 1990 was a thing. I mean, Peter Shilton could have had the captaincy, but he was. He found it difficult in his wheelchair, sort of thing. So, good old Schultz. He was now concentrating on goalkeeping, so it sort of fell to me, which was really nice. But
I always think it's difficult for goalkeepers to captain.
Yeah, it is difficult. I find it difficult for centre forwards to captain the country or captain the team. I find that really difficult. It's got to be, for me, it's got to be a defender. Not that I'm just a defender, but
you see more of the game.
You see more of the game, and you generally they're the sort of most experienced in the team as well. And it's about respect from the players. This guy's always going to be there. He's going to head the ball away and kick it and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So have you always been an Ipswich Town fan? Is it ingrained in you from as early?
Well, my first shirt I got was an Arsenal shirt.
How on earth did that happen?
That was the last one in the Reggie Regis sports shop in Lowestoft. And there was also one last number, because in those days you got numbers which were huge.
Yeah.
And it was a number 5. So I had the Arsenal shirt, and my mum hand sewed on the number 5. I didn't have a clue who number 5 was. And I've since found out it was Ian Ure, who used to play for Dundee. Big, strong centre-back. But I didn't like 5. I felt it sort of portrayed a rugged, tall, head it, kick it centre half who wasn't particularly good on the ball but could defend.
Yeah.
And I preferred number 6 because my hero at the time was Bobby Moore, number 6 Freeman, of course, and Kevin Beattie became my hero obviously when he joined Ipswich. And number 6 has always been associated for me with those two unbelievably great players. So Bobby Moore was a right-footed centre back, but he wasn't left foot. But you know what Beats like, Kevin Beattie's left foot was. Wow, it wasn't a wand, it was a hammer, wasn't it? It was to smash it.
Are we saying if Bobby Moore had dropped a teapot on his right foot, he would have been left-footed?
Well, it could have been even better than what he was. Yeah. So
as an Ipswich Town fanatic as a kid, as we all were, obviously we had a particular feeling about our friends from up the A140 in Norfolk.
Yeah.
And there's the story that you...
He's crossed his arms now.
About
Body language.
you mentioned Norwich. That's enough.
You went up for trials, didn't you? That was the first port of call. Was it?
Well, I played for Suffolk Schoolboys under 15s for 2 years and under 19s for 2 years, and nobody spotted me. You play against Cambridgeshire and Norfolk. You play against Essex, who were always the best in that sort of little mini league that you had, and nobody spotted me. So I didn't think that I had enough to make it as a pro footballer. So Bob Bagshaw was the Norwich scout in Lowestoft.
Did he have a sheepskin coat?
Yeah, sheepskin coat. Yeah, he was a lovely guy, but he unfortunately worked for Norwich. But he said, they'd like to have a look at you. So, it's a chance, isn't it, in football? And I didn't really want to go. I said to my dad, I don't want to go, and he said, well, just try it. So I went to Norwich and played in a match and had to pull on the Norwich kit. And it wasn't a very pleasurable experience. I said to my dad before I played the game, I feel sick wearing this. So good job there was no camera phones in those days. That could have been open to blackmail. But so then we played the game and I wasn't very good. But I'd already been, luckily, I mentioned Reggie Regis, Sports Shop. His son, Mike Regis, was a big Ipswich fan. Yeah. He rang up Charlie Woods and Ron Gray, I think it was, to say, you better have a look at Terry Butcher. And he's going to Norwich on trial. So they then... I'd gone along to a couple of sort of training sessions with the younger boys at Ipswich on a Thursday night. And hadn't done particularly well because I was training with like 13, 14-year-olds who were dwarfs compared to me. Yeah. I felt a bit like Gulliver. So I wasn't pinned down. But I mean, and then he said, look, come along, we'll have a look at you for 4 weeks pre-season. And then we'll make a decision and see how you get on. So I'd already got that sort of option. And I played the trial match with Norwich, and John Sainty, the coach of Norwich, said, look, we'd like to see you back. So I thought, well, after that I had a shocker. And I thought, well, okay, fine, but we'll be in touch. And then, of course, I came to Ipswich, and after 3 weeks trial, I was signed as a professional.
Because they didn't have an academy then, did they?
No, they had schools of excellence where you would play. There were younger teams that played, but they didn't train full time, and there was nothing like an academy in those days. But there were younger, not so much 12s or under, but sometimes higher than that, 14s and 15s and 16s. So they had it. Ipswich had it, but it wasn't as big as it is now, of course.
So this would have been in 1976 when you joined.
76, yeah, the hottest, one of the hottest summers ever.
Correct. Bobby Robson was obviously the manager. He'd been there for many years, successful years already, and Ipswich was on the verge of something amazing. Could you, even you're a wide-eyed young kid joining the squad, could you sense something was developing at Ipswich?
Well, we'd watched Ipswich in 75. They got to the semi-final of the Cup, if you remember that, and were robbed by Clive Thomas, the referee. Yeah. So, they were, and I used to come along to the games. My dad used to take me, stand on a milk crate at Churchman's behind the goal, and I'd watch the games, watch some unbelievable games, Man United's and Real Madrid's and all these sort of things. It was just incredible. And there was the atmosphere and everything else. I'd been to Norwich to watch Norwich, but I couldn't, that was it for me. I'm an Ipswich boy. So standing on the terraces and on the milk crate on the terraces was just my dream. So to be in the same building as some of my heroes was, wow, it was just so surreal in many respects. But, you had to do the jobs and you had to knuckle down and get on with it. And, they were like legends, absolute legends to me. And I was just working my way and trying to learn and trying to do it. But I had so many good players in front of me. Russell was there at the time as well. Dale Roberts, bless him, he was there. Yeah. John Penalty, the Beat, Alan Hunter, some really, really
John
good players.
Penalty was part of the Mariner deal, wasn't he?
Yeah. Went the other way.
76, I just joined the club and then I was in the same hotel, the Portman Hotel, just down Berners Street.
Oh yeah.
I was in that, and he was in the hotel with me. So I was a young boy playing for the under-18s, and he was a top star, and he'd just been signed. So we were together in the hotel. It was good fun. It was really good fun.
So which game was your debut?
I played away from home. I played at Everton,
Right.
15th of April 1978. The crowd was 33,406. But apart from that, I don't remember it.
Nervous?
Yeah, I really was. But I did all right in the reserves, and at one stage I was going to give the game up because Bobby Ferguson was on to me all the time, and it was quite abusive in those days. The stick he got, but he was driving me because he could see in me that there was something there. And my dad actually had a meeting with him, and he said, "Look, my son's on the verge of giving up here. Can he make it?" So Bobby just said to him, never said it to me, of course, but he said it to my dad that he'll go all the way.
Yeah.
And then my dad says, "Well, that's good enough." So Dad came back to me and just said, "Look, he's, just keep going, son, keep going." So I did.
It's weird, isn't it? The old way of managing people is very different.
Yeah,
to now.
is, but it got the best out of me.
Yeah.
And Bobby Ferguson was great for me.
Yeah.
He was a great coach, great motivator.
He was a hard taskmaster.
He was very, very hard. I've not met anybody harder than him. But I got to know him really well. And he was at Sunderland when I was many, many years later. And he became my number 2 at Sunderland. And he was brilliant. He's brilliant. No, I love him to bits. And everybody at Ipswich at that time, Charlie Woods, the youth team coach, Sir Bobby, of course, Cyril Lee when he was there as well. Great coaches, really good people. You listen to them. They taught you not only about the game, but they taught you about life and generally. You got to fight for the right to exist, let alone play football. You've got to be strong, and you've got to show your physicality in the right way.
Yeah.
You've got to show that you're not weak. They didn't suffer fools. They didn't suffer weak players. You've got to be strong.
Yeah, but you also need to feel valued, don't you?
You don't need it. Yeah, you need to feel valued. But you sort of knew in the early stages. I was told, I don't know why we've signed you. You've blah 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 blah. I want you to go outside. Charlie Woods used to say, go outside. Underneath the stands, there's the concrete. They weren't concourses. They were just as you went onto the pitch, where there was all concrete. Throw a ball against the wall, pass it back, volley it, control it with your thighs, control it with your chest, head the ball, so you get the timings and you get the comfort of working with both feet. And I did that for 20 minutes every day. Yeah. And it was the best thing I ever did. The best bit of advice I'll give youngsters. If you're on an outside wall sort of thing, and the youngsters kick a ball and you're inside, it's not so good when you're inside because you can hear this bang, bang, bang. But it's the best bit of advice because you get a feel for the ball, the pace of the ball, the touch has got to be right. Yeah. It's just wonderful because you can develop that. Like tennis, you go and you just hit loads of balls, cricket nets and all that sort of thing. This practice makes permanent.
Well, obviously worked because within a few short years, you were part of that stellar Ipswich Town team, which should have won the league championship twice, really.
Yeah.
And did win the UEFA Cup. And we're actually here in the Greyhound pub in Ipswich, the best pub in Ipswich. And
you can't say
we've got programmes on the walls from that campaign, with of course your faces on the UEFA Cup final programme.
Yeah. Like I said when you come into the building and you have so many top stars ahead of you, good people ahead of you, you think, I'm never going to break through. Yeah. But all you've got to do is just get your head down and work hard and be the best that you can be. Do the best that you can do and get on with it and practice and look after yourself. There's nothing of the sports science in our day and all that sort of thing. Nothing about rehabilitation. And, we just followed what the top pros did, got on with it, and made sure that we, when we had the chance, we took it because that's what people want. If you get an opportunity, you've got to take it and take it well.
Wasn't match preparation about 6 pints?
Well, not on a Friday. We never did it on a Friday. Never drunk beer on a Friday or drunk. If we'd drink beer, we wouldn't drink spirits or stuff like that.
Yeah. But I do remember as a kid growing up in the town, and you were never part, I don't think, of that drinking club too much. But you'd see the players going from pub to pub, betting shop to betting shop. It was a totally different way of life, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I used to go in the betting shop with the boys, Gatesy and Coops and Tommy Parkins and all these people, and Alan Brazil, of course. And we used to go in there, and I went in there because it was warm on a winter's day, and you got a free cup of tea as well. So you used to go in there and watch them lose all their money. And I was never been into gambling. Luckily, that was good, but. Yeah, and then if we went on a night out, Blooming Fuchsia used to be a great pub. That's gone now. Most of all the pubs I knew, Ipswich Arms is a good pub. That's gone. they've all gone. And you'd always be another one. I never really came into the greyhound because, for me, my circuit was totally different.
Yeah, Simon and I don't spend much time in here.
No.
First time I've been here, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't been here for ages.
Well, if this had been about, or I knew about this many years ago, then we certainly would have frequented it. But we had the obviously a few drinks, you play hard and all that sort of thing, but we worked ever so hard on the training field. We never had days off. We'd come in and we'd just muck about with a ball, but you keep your passing drills. After every training session, me and Russell would just knock a ball to each other and then develop the distance, develop the curl and the smash and the drive and all that sort of thing.
I used to stand behind, the training pitch used to be right behind the ground. It's not now, of course, and you didn't often have nets in the goalposts. So Paul Cooper would be in goal in training, and I used to stand behind him during your training sessions and try and save shots that he missed or whatever.
He didn't miss much, did he?
He didn't. No, I wasn't very busy. But
No.
Bobby Robson, Sir Bobby, shouted. I did save one shot, and he shouted out, "Good save, son."
Yeah.
And that was my happiest day.
Was he Welsh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he was looking actually.
No, he was. It was good. That training pitch was always good at the start of the season. By about September, it was a mud heap. It was awful. But we trained on it because we invariably played on pitches that were very poor. Portman Road was always the best pitch in the league, and teams used to like coming to us. And I think they came to us to play and think, well, we can beat these. Mm-hmm. And then they wouldn't park any buses. No one did that in those days, but they would come out at us. But we just used to pick them off. Yeah. We had our own ball. You remember the little red and white hexagon thing, what we called it? Yeah. And that was the Surridge Cobbler. That's what it was called. And every club had their own ball, and we had a lovely one. And teams hated playing against us with that ball. They hated that ball. Yeah. It was invariably picking it out the back of the net all the time.
I didn't know that you had your own ball.
Yeah. There was no deals now with Mitre or Adidas or Nikes and all these things. It was we had our own deal, which was good for us. We trained with balls as well, and those training balls were awful because they were misshapen and all this sort of thing. But we just got on with it, and I think that was the thing in our days. You adapted, and if it was pouring with rain, it was muddy, you adapted. If it was slippy, you changed your studs and you adapted. You just got on with it, and it made us hardy. It made us together. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed the laughs, but we enjoyed the hard work. And if anybody wasn't doing the business on the pitch, they used to get dug out by the players. Hey, you, pull your finger out and all that sort of thing. I see Sam Morsey do it now a little bit on the pitch, and not too many others. But it's not so much about praise. It's about sometimes a real dig. And if you have that mentality, you say, "Oh, right, I want to show you."
I don't know about you, but if Terry Butcher came up to me and stuck his finger in my face and had a go, I think I'd pull my socks up.
Well, I did.
I'd shit myself.
I did have Steve McCall by the throat in one game.
Did you?
Yeah, because he was just slightly out of position behind me when the ball came over.
Is that how he lost his front teeth?
No, it wasn't how he lost his front teeth. But I was annoyed, really annoyed, and I just got him and he said something back to me, so I just grabbed him by the throat.
Was this in the game?
In the game.
Yeah.
And obviously it was gone out of play, balls and out of play. I grabbed him by the throat and I just said, "Don't you ever be out of position again."
Yeah.
And you know what?
Was he?
He never was.
No, exactly.
But you learn the hard way sometimes, and I think that. And to be fair, Steve was an unsung hero for us. He was magnificent for us. Yeah. Doesn't get the praise he deserves really, because he wasn't like a full international as such, under 21. But he could play in midfield as well. And he did that on many occasions. But a really, really good guy, and he still lives in the town as well.
Yeah, I played golf with him. Rushman.
Yeah,
nice chap.
He's a painter and decorator, no?
Yeah.
And the number no, I haven't got the number, no. But you tell you what, you've got to book him up early because he's very, very good. So again, it goes back to how you're brought up. If you're going to do a job, you do it really well and do it to the best of your ability. So you don't only train footballers to play on the pitch and play the game, you treat them to be decent human beings and set a standard. Yeah. But if you're going to cheat off the pitch, you're going to cheat on the pitch. And you see that in the jobs. And a lot of the players that I had jobs with when I was younger, in the under 18s and below. If you could see the ones that cheated at the job, they didn't do it, and you always used to dig them. Come on, you! But on the pitch, they'd be the same as well.
Well, the youth team players had to clean boots and
clean boots.
Pretty sure that doesn't happen now.
Yeah, I used to do the kit as well. Go into the cleaning room and all the drying room, do the kit in there, buff the floors. They used to call it. Get the machine down. And used to buff the floors in. To suck it up and all that sort of thing, wipe everywhere. And we always got an inspection on a Friday. We were, home on a Saturday, under 18s. First team were at home, so you had to clean the building. And Cyril Lee would go around, or Bobby Ferguson would go around.
Yeah.
Oh, we were like that. Oh, nightmare. Because Cyril wasn't very big, but he used to get a ladder, and he used to go onto the top rung of the beading on the walls and rub his fingers along. And because it was dirty, someone hadn't done it, it was dirty.
Yeah.
He used to say, "What's this, Scotch mist? What's this? Get it clean." So he couldn't go home. But what we used to do was you finish on a Friday, great, everything, job's done, perfect. And then we'd go to Newstead's. Remember the bakery called Newstead's? Right in the middle of town near the Falcon pub. So we used to go there, and we'd have like big sausage rolls and ketchup or big cream donuts, things like that. It was about 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we'd go home to our digs and have a big meal in preparation for the game the next day. It was fantastic. What a life.
Yeah.
I think go home and see Happy Days. Remember Happy Days?
Yeah, I do.
Happy Days.
So it obviously worked for you because England came calling in 1980, I believe. You made your debut for England.
Yeah, you don't actually, you're playing, you're learning your trade, and you're thinking about Ipswich, and you're thinking about holding your place in the team or getting into the team. You never actually think about internationals. And luckily Russell and I were selected for under 21s in '79, and I played a few games for them. But you never think that it's going to ever come knocking for you.
Mm-hmm.
And me and we went away in '79 to Austria, to Sweden, where I made my under 21 debut with Russell. And Austria, well, what a time that was! End of season, about 10-day, 12-day trip with the first team, with the senior squad. So you're able then to see the senior England players and see what they do and how they work, the Keegans and the Brookings of this world.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic to mix with them.
Who was the under 21 manager?
Under 21 manager was, I think, Terry Venables and Dave Sexton.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, two great coaches, great guys.
Yeah.
And it was very good. I think people like Glenn Hoddle and Brian Robson was there. I played in a B game at Klagenfurt against Austria.
Right.
And it got abandoned after an hour because of thunder and lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, because they have it in the summer. It's quite prevalent out there. And there was a couple of people that died a few weeks earlier. So the referee from Italy just said, "No, I'm off. I'm off ski." And
Got the white flag out.
So I've got a B cap, and they don't have them now, B and C. I've got a B cap, but I only played an hour because the game was abandoned.
Yeah. Was that with Russ?
No, well, Russell was a sub that day.
Right.
This is Russell Osman.
I made it
Sorry.
into the team.
Yeah.
I made it into the team somehow.
Yeah.
But I always remember Russell. Russell had this. Russell, he'd tell you the story of. We were playing at Klagenfurt in the B game, so we had to get a train there. So I played the game, came back the next day, and we had a few beers with everybody because our season was over then. We were going to watch the first team, the England team, play in Austria, which they eventually lost 4-3. Great game. So on the way back, we'd been to in Sweden we'd been to a magic shop and a joke shop, and Russell had got this disappearing ink. So Big Joe Corrigan was the goalkeeper for the B game, and if you ever come across Big Joe, he's a gentle guy, but when he's with the team in football, he's a hard nut.
Yeah.
And he didn't stand any jokers and youngsters and all that sort of thing, taking the mickey. So we're on the train coming back, and we've got a crate of beer on the train. Bobby Robson's down first class. We're down cattle class at the back.
Yeah.
So Bobby Robson was the manager of the team in the B team in that day. So Russell got the disappearing ink, and he threw it over Joe's England shirt, and Big Joe went purple with rage. And he said, right, and he got his shirt because he thought his shirt was ruined, and threw it out the window.
No.
And then just put his tie back on. So he said to everybody, "You do it. You do it, everybody." So everybody had to take their shirts off and throw it out the window. Derek Statham and other people were throwing the shirts out the window.
Wow.
He said to me about the shirt, and I was like, no, this means too much to me. If you throw it, like in those days, they had the 3 lions in Boston shirts. Yeah. So I said, I'm not throwing my shirt out. So Big Joe left me alone, thankfully. Probably because I was bigger than him.
Yeah.
But then, of course, someone didn't throw their shirt out. Well, then Big Joe actually realised that he shouldn't have thrown his shirt out because the ink just disappeared, as it says.
Well, he wouldn't have known
it says on the tin.
Yeah.
So he didn't know.
Yeah.
We all thought we were going to get a pasting from him. It was good fun.
So you ended up in and around England setup for, nearly 10 years, didn't you? And obviously 3 World Cups. The middle one famous for a certain Argentinian gentleman.
Yeah, I was very lucky that I had the breaks to get into the team. I didn't get in the team between 80 and 82, really. Probably played a couple of games, but My form wasn't great. There were other players, Phil Thompson and Dave Watson, legends in the England team. They were quite strong, and it was Russell was playing in the team as well. But I got in '82. Luckily made '82 because I was injured with a broken nose early '82, and then got into the team and played in Cardiff. We won. Played in Scotland. We won, and then played in the World Cup. And we were unbeaten in the World Cup and only conceded one goal, which was my fault. But we only conceded one goal. So I was very, very fortunate in that respect, and I sort of kept my place ever since. Then Bobby Robson became England manager. And I was stayed in and saw off a lot of other centre halves, to be honest. But the saddest thing for me is that Russell didn't stay with me. I would love to have played much longer in the setup with Russell, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So, which is a major pity. But you always say that you're fortunate, and you always was looking over your shoulder to see who are the younger players coming through and all this sort of thing. But you just had to keep going, and as long as you're giving your very best and doing a good job. We never made, what was it? We never made '84, the European Championships. Got knocked out by Denmark. Yeah. But then after that, we qualified for every tournament. And I missed '88 because of a broken leg, but I played in the 3 World Cups and did okay.
Just another quick shout out to our sponsor, All Truck and Trailer Parts UK.
And also to our additional sponsors, Seckford Golf Club and WM Brokers. Well, we refer to '86, of course, and Maradona.
Yeah.
And the famous Hand of God goal. He's obviously no longer with us, but I imagine your opinion of him hasn't changed.
No, never will. No, I didn't like the way that he didn't admit to the handball. And the way that he kept it going and all that sort of thing. No, I didn't like that very much. Yeah. I thought he was a cheat, and I thought that he was a hell of a player. I mean, the best player I've ever played against. Great player. And obviously his personal life is a lot different to his professional life. But he did lead Argentina literally single-handedly to the World Cup in '86 and got him in the final in 1990. So, like I say, he was a great footballer. I think Messi's better because now Messi's got the World Cup crown sort of thing, and he's a lovely man off the pitch as well. So he's the perfect all-round role model, really, when you think about it. Although Maradona, his ability in those days, he used to get kicked all the time. Yeah. I tried to kick him, but I couldn't get near him. I didn't know what he looked like for 5 years because all I saw was the back of his head. So I was chasing him about the pitch.
I mean, that second goal was unbelievable, wasn't it? But people still talk about the first one, don't they?
Yeah, I don't like people talking about either goal, but there we are. Because I was on the pitch at the time, and the second one he beat me twice, not once. So not great memories. But we sort of feel if we'd beaten Argentina in '86, and there's a big if we'd beaten Argentina, then we could have gone on to win it. Same in 1990, if we'd beaten West Germany as it was then, we'd have gone on to win it. So
you could say potentially the same this year. If we'd have got past France.
Yeah,
potentially good enough. I don't know.
It's small and scant compensation to lose out to the eventual winners because you want to go further. But I had some great times. Like 8 years playing or 10 years really if you think my debut, but 8 years playing in competitive games for England were remarkable, and I really enjoyed it. Plus the fact I had a broken leg in '87 and missed '88, which was a good one to miss because we lost 3 games in Germany. But it was great memories, and playing alongside some of the best players ever. And when you go with the national squad, you feel so sort of humble that you're following in footsteps of absolute geniuses. Like Stanley Matthews and all those people, but particularly Bobby Moore. Yeah, and I always felt really special with the number 6. Yeah, and playing that, I thought, well, it's not going to be always your number. You just wear it for a certain amount of time, but it's just so iconic for Bobby Moore. And Beat never wore 6. I think he wore number 3. He was playing him left back mostly. Yeah. But and it's such a shame that the Beat didn't play a lot more games as well. Yeah. But it's that's what happens when
What age did he retire? He was really young, wasn't he? BT.
His last game was the semi-final, wasn't it?
Yeah, 81.
Against Manchester City. Broke his arm.
Yeah.
So
how old was he then?
So must have been late 20s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
30? I mean, he had a
probably.
catalogue of injuries, hadn't he? His knee. He used to have
Yeah.
those cortisone injections before
Yeah,
the game.
yeah, he did, and he would play when it's not, he came back and he wasn't fully fit because he wanted to play and all these kind of things as well. And he would go in for tackles and do things that other players wouldn't do, and then he would get injured because he was just totally committed and wanted to win.
Yeah.
But he was hard as nails. He really was.
Bobby Robson always described him as the best ever player who played for him. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, some great players play for Bobby. You look at Ronaldo for Barcelona and things like this, and some phenomenal players. But he and obviously Guardiola played for him as well many years ago. But I think all round the beat, I think with the beat as well, because he retired early and he was injured so much, you never saw the full potential of him.
Yeah.
Because he was an incredible player. And a lot of people say about Duncan Edwards, I never saw Duncan Edwards play for Manchester United, saying that he was a similar player but injured and didn't fulfil his potential. And you say, well, what would have happened if the beat and Duncan Edwards had gone on to fulfil that and gone on to be everything and retired late in the game and all that sort of thing? You're looking at an absolute, unique players. And they played centre back and they played in my position. So, I feel, that's what I say, I feel very humble and honoured to follow in their footsteps. And, it's lovely having seen Beat, having played alongside Beat, having got to know Beat.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He was an absolute genius.
So your sort of 10-year, let's call it 10-year span with England, halfway through that, of course, is when you left your beloved Ipswich Town and moved up to Scotland to join Rangers. How did that all come about?
Well, we got relegated, didn't we? So 86. So we only scored 32 goals, which is never enough to keep you in that division. But we went down sort of fighting and kicking on the last, well, it wasn't really fighting and kicking, but we went down of the last game of the season to when Oxford beat Arsenal 3-0 on the Monday, and we'd lost to Sheffield Wednesday on the Saturday, 1-0. We lost to West Ham and Sheffield the last two games. If we'd got a point or 2 points, we would have stayed up. But we'd lost a lot of the top stars from 82 down to 86. We weren't the same team. A lot of injuries as well. So you could, name so many excuses, but we weren't good enough.
And why Rangers? Was it,
Well, Rangers
did you have
came
a lot
in.
of suitors?
Well, I suppose we lost. Oxford won on the Monday, and on the Tuesday, Bobby Ferguson called me in. It was the manager then. Bobby called me in to his office, and I went into his office, and I literally got in, sat down, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we both started crying because we were relegated. And it hurt me. It hurt us a lot, obviously a heck of a lot, but it hurt me more because I was an Ipswich fan.
Yeah.
And then being part and captaining the team to take them down is awful. And I just signed a 4-year deal the year before, and I loved the club, and I wanted to stay. He said, look, I'm really sorry. That sounds like Bobby Ferguson. It gives you shivers. But he said to me that we've got to move you on because the others have gone to pay for the stand. We need financially, we need to move you on, and we feel it's the right thing for you and all this sort of thing. But I said no, I want to stay. I wanted to stay, and I wanted to be captain of the team that got back up and got promotion. I was really intent on doing that because I felt I owed everything to the club. And he just said no. He says, look, go away, have a good World Cup, come back, and then we can see, if there are any offers and things like that, and see where the land lies. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And there was no talk of anything else. And then it was very quiet actually. And I'd been tapped up by Manchester United for 3 years, secretly phoning me and all that sort of thing. But I was totally committed to Ipswich. Yeah, because it happens in those days. It still happens now. So I was expecting them to come in. Now they had the opportunity to come in and take me, but they never did. Yeah. And I remember being with Ron Atkinson when we got knocked out by Argentina in the hotel in Mexico. Bobby Robson wasn't there, but he was about. But Ron Atkinson and Brian Robson, and they were talking about coming to Manchester United, and I thought that was going to happen. Yeah. But it never materialised. And Rangers came in and with cash. The money in cash, which is unusual because normally it's 6 months and 6 months. Yeah, and they said we'll take it, which was fine. But I thought, well, Man United are going to come in, and I kept waiting for Man United to come in, but they never did. And in the end, I thought, well, Chris Woods, the Norwich goalkeeper, and the England colleague in the World Cup, he was going to join the revolution with under Graham Souness at Rangers. Mark Falco had gone from Spurs as well, big Bilko, the centre forward.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look, if there's nothing else, there's not much I can do. I have to be sold, then I'll go and I'll join the revolution and see what it's like. Because we played against Rangers a couple of years prior to that with Johnny Wart scored 2 against his beloved Rangers, and we beat them in a testimonial game. And that was a proper football ground, with the oak panelling and wooden panelling and everything else changed. It was fantastic. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity. So we took it and never looked back. Really, it was more than I thought it could be. Much, much more.
What was Mr. Souness like?
It was fine. Apart from the last month I was there when he got rid of me, but I mean the previous times, 4 years, brilliant, absolutely great. And there's so many England internationals came up as well. Ray Wilkins, bless him, and Mark Walters and Graham Roberts. And, Richard Goff joined us. Scottish international. It was just bizarre.
How did the Scottish fans take to this sort of mini English invasion?
Well, they hated it because we're getting better than all the other teams. The Rangers fans loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, lots of England fags in the stadium. Lots of them. And in 5-a-sides and 8-a-sides, we used to have England versus the rest of the world, and England versus Scotland game. So it was competitive. I tell you now, very competitive because the Scots wanted to beat the English in these little games. We'd play on a Friday, and we'd play. There's a story about Graham Souness. There's a guy called Ian Durant who was a really good young Scottish player in Derek Ferguson.
Didn't he go to Spurs?
No, he didn't. No. He had a bad injury a few years later, but he was a young up-and-coming star, and he was a bit cocky as well because he thought he was good, which he was. And he playing against Souness. So Souness is playing for the England team, and Durant is playing for the Scotland team. And Souness is, we're not winning. Scotland are winning, and he's taking the mickey, Durant, sort of thing, and he nutmegs, puts the ball right through Souness's legs, but shouts it, nutmeg. Boom. Of course, everybody went like this, thinking, oh, you don't do that to the manager, the player manager. You don't do that to him because he doesn't mess about.
Yeah.
So Souness didn't say anything for a few minutes, and the ball went to Durante, and Souness steamed in. You could see him running in. We all thought, oh my goodness, like watching the train crash. And Souness smashed him. Absolutely smashed him. And Durante's on the floor. Now, we've got a game the next day. This is on a Friday. We've got a game the next day. So Durante's writhing about on the floor, and he's crying because of the pain. So we've all gone, Gaffer, come on now. Souness serves him right. Says, if he can't get up, get him off. But Durante got up. And he got up quickly. It was still really hurt. You could see it. And he just said to Souness, hey, Gaffer, is that the best you can offer?
Oh, no.
So Souness went, no, this is. And he went, bang. And he knocked him out.
Did he?
And he knocked him out on the pitch. And that was it. Walter Smith just went, stop, back over, shower and home. So that was it.
Did he play the next day?
Played the next day.
Did he?
Oh, good grief.
Played the next day. That was what it was like. It was, it was fierce. And you had to give back to the Scots, David Coopers and McCoys and Durantes. You had to give back to them the stick that they gave to you, because otherwise you're weak. You got walked all over. So very, very competitive, very good. And the dressing room we had at Ipswich and England, which is fantastic. But the Scotland one they were sharp, really, really sharp. There's a lot of real, and then, of course the anti-English sort of thing was there, but it was funny as anything. It was really good fun.
But your love of Scotland, if you like, we'll come to various managerial positions soon. But you ended up buying a hotel in Scotland, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I went to Coventry in 1990, and then to Sunderland as 93, 92 as a player, but 93, and then in 94 I didn't have a club, so I decided to buy a hotel. We'd seen a hotel, we'd seen a hotel up there, which was a bit run down. We used to go there for Sunday lunches, and boozy Sunday lunches after Rangers games. And we thought we loved the hotel. 7 bedrooms, that's all. So we thought, well, why not do that? And my sister was a chef, and she's in catering, and my brother-in-law was a chef, and he was in catering. So we decided to buy it, and they would run it, and then we'd be the sort of partners, sort of silent partners, just come in, the host and all that sort of thing. And we put all the pictures up and all these sort of things in the bar, small restaurant. You could do small functions. But it was one of the oldest houses in Bridge of Allen, as it was then, near Stirling. And we thought, well, let's give it a go.
And?
Well, it started off all right. We spent a bit of money on it, but we had an argument with my sister and her husband, so they parted. We parted company with them, regrettably. And I did it in a way that I shouldn't have done, because you learn a lot in business as well as in football. And in the end, the family split, and we ended up running it. So I became Scotland's Basil Fawlty. So for like 3.5 years, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
The hardest thing. I can't, dealing with the public's hard, but to try and get everything right and to try and get continuity and consistency, it's difficult. It was really difficult. But we had some really good times, and I was thin as a rake because I used to walk everywhere. Talk about steps, you're doing about 30,000 steps a day. It's intense.
So were you literally changing the sheets?
No, I wasn't doing that. I do draw a line at that time. No, but I was on my hands and knees with the pipes as well, because the water system and the pipes weren't very good. Which was an old place, but you get the rods down and all that sort of thing in between service, coming back, washing your hands and going out and serving the public. I'd go out and I would tell the customers what the specials were, and I'd take their orders, things like that. And then if they needed a bottle of wine, I would go and do stuff like that. So it was interesting, but you had you had 100 customers a night. If there was one customer that wasn't quite happy with the meal, it kills you. Absolutely killed you. You wanted 100%, everybody to be happy. Yeah. And I'd go around and I'd say, everything okay for you? How's the meal? Because you've got to ask people during the meal, because that gives you a chance to change it or make it better for them. So they're like, yeah, everything's fine, everything's like that. So then I was like, I'd be at the desk and that, and then sort of taking the orders and doing the phones and things like that. My wife would be there, Rita would be there, and then I would go away and do something, and then they would come to Rita and complain to Rita. Rita got all the complaints, and I got all the praise. So it was difficult. Yeah, it's something that if you enjoy it, if it's for you, it's brilliant. Yeah. If you've been used to being in the hotels and being on the other side, you think you can do it, but it's a lot more difficult.
So, sort of 30 years on, would you have done it any differently? Would you have?
I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have bought the hotel. No, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah. I'd have invested somewhere else. Because I had a little bit, but nothing like the players have today. But I had a little bit invested, and of course, then you get a mortgage and the brewery and all that sort of thing. And Scottish and Newcastle were very good for me up there, and they were we had some really special times.
So what was the story with Terry Butcher Insurance? Because that was
back in '85 when I was still a player here. I'd moved into Henley Road, just virtually here, up here, and we bought a property there in '83. Moved next door to a Lloyd's underwriter, Bob Campbell. Right. So we got very friendly with Bob and Marion, and I had a black Labrador, and we decided to get her mated. Is that right? No, I think not black, a golden Labrador. Russell had got it for our wedding. Russell Osman gave me a wedding present, this Labrador, Sadie. So we decided that we'd give her a litter and then spade her. So we had a litter of about 9 pups in the garage, looked after them, but she wasn't pedigree, so we couldn't sell them as pedigree. But we sold them all, and sold next door to Bob and Marion. We gave them a pup. Yeah. So they got the pup and called it Butch. Right. So it was obviously a male dog, but they called it Butch. And we formed a friendship, and then just literally standing over the fence, talking to each other. He then decided, well, what about doing this insurance company? Yeah. And then we can look at all the logistics. So I said, okay, fine, let's give it a go. So we each put £2,000 in, and there was David Chapman was another director, so I think it was 6,000, and the manager Rick was £500. So 6,500, and we started the business.
And it started with one outlet in Ipswich.
Sarden Street, in Sarden, lovely place, real old building. I'd bang my head wherever I went and all that sort of thing. Couldn't stand up in the rooms, but it was great. I mean, we set it out as an insurance, because you don't need much to set up as an insurance company, just phones. So we set it up, and a number of people I speak to in Ipswich now that say to me, I actually put my insurance with you. So rather thinking they're going to say, and I had a nightmare, and it didn't do very well for me. They used to say, no, that was very good. I said, oh, thanks. Yeah. So I left obviously in '86, because my signature was the logo. So I had to adapt it a little bit, but signature was the logo. So and it sort of grew arms and legs. It really progressed, and we had offices in Woodbridge, Felixstowe. We're looking at Stowmarket.
And eventually the business was sold, wasn't it? It was bought by...
it was bought by...
dare we say the name?
Yeah, it was bought by now it's Aviva, but it was Norwich and Peterborough,
Correct,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. But that was a long time in the future, but it grew so much that with the money that you're making, we were able to get to holiday homes in Florida.
Okay.
So we bought 2 holiday homes in Florida, lovely properties on an estate, holiday estate. So we had like 3 or 4 properties and these 2 properties in America, and then we sold to Norwich and Peterborough.
So without revealing the figures, unless you wanted to, did that give you a nice nest egg? Or did that...
No, not
was it?
No, I mean it wasn't a great
make a
deal.
difference,
It wasn't a
or-
great deal, but yeah, it gave us a little bit of money, which was
Uh-huh.
nice for a £2,000 investment.
Yeah.
Wow, you would never get that sort of thing anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of profit on that.
What
it
were
was-
you like, I guess you had to attend board meetings or at least be kept up to date
Yeah,
while you were playing up north.
That was quite funny.
What were you like at doing on that sort of side?
I
of
didn't have a
business?
clue what they were talking about at board meetings. I just.
So I made a living out of doing that. Don't I?
I think you know a bit about board meetings, you two. But no, I was the what can I say, director or chairman? I wasn't the chairman. Well, I was director or something like that. So it didn't really matter because I was silent partner or silent director, and I was non-executive, and I used to come fly down, hire a car, boom, 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 do the meeting, sandwiches for lunch, and boom, 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 fly back, and that was my day. I should do that once a year or twice a year. And that's what I would do. You've got the accounts and everything else like that, but look, I'm a footballer. I'm not. I've never been in insurance.
And you never got involved in business in any other way,
No,
let's say, have you since?
no, not really. I mean, we used to go on outings with Bob for the underwriters and been to Lloyd's. And in those days, you used to invest in Lloyd's, didn't you? If you had £100,000, you could invest in Lloyd's, and you were guaranteed virtually that money then was going to accelerate and give you a really good return. It obviously died a death because of the state of the financial markets later on. But I always aimed to do that, but I never did it, and thankfully never did it. But no, I mean, I'd read sometimes the Financial Times or something like that if there was no other paper. But no, I'm not a businessman, not at all. And I like more of a laugh and actually making a lot of money. I like to make money, but at the end of the day.
But you stayed in football, didn't you?
Yeah.
The management became
That's the next
coaching.
step. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have enough money to retire. I always wanted to earn enough money where you can say I don't have to work again. In those days, you couldn't. It was impossible. But nowadays, it's everybody does it sort of thing. Millionaires are playing football now, which is great to see because you don't begrudge them the money because at the end of the day, it is what it is. But no, I never did. I never went to great lengths to look at any other businesses and things like this. I invested in a hotel, and well, to be fair to Rita, my wife, she sold off parts of the properties that. Or the property that we had within the hotel, and we actually came out on just a little bit on top, which in that time was very unusual. So, no, I think if you have a little bit of success, I think sometimes you think, well, there's going to be a negative coming around the corner, and you don't want that.
So how did you find the transition from player to manager? 'Cause it's obviously a big.
That was I always wanted to do it, and my transition was to become a player manager.
Yeah.
Which is an impossible job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was
impossible.
Coventry, wasn't it?
I was at Coventry and then Sunderland.
Yeah.
So I didn't play many games for Coventry at 7, I think, because my legs were gone then.
Yeah.
And I didn't play many games. I played a season for Sunderland as a player and then became manager.
Yeah.
So I found it difficult because I was sink or swim. 31 years old, I was a manager at Coventry in the team that was in the top flight of English football.
Yeah.
So that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I was like fish out of water in many respects. So you have to learn quick. And I always used to try to put in, the philosophy of Bobby Robson, how he did it, because he got involved in everything. He made sure that he knew about everything, and I tried to do that. But sometimes you don't get the time because you don't get the results.
Yeah.
And in those days, in '92, particularly when I did get sacked, it was the start of the Premier League, and that was all the talk was being in that. You must finish in the division to stay and be a founder member of the Premier League. So that didn't happen.
Yeah. Ipswich Town, of course, did make it.
They did,
The first one under George.
They did, and did very well.
Yeah. So you then went to, we said you went to Sunderland. You then had a period of working in Scotland as a coach and as a manager.
Yeah, obviously I left Sunderland in 93, bought the hotel in 94, and I had some very good friends in Scotland because of the time we'd spent up there. And I became youth team coach at Wraith Rovers along with John Brownlee. Alex Smith was the manager. Jimmy Nichols played for Manchester United. He was the assistant manager. And we had a great time at Wraith Rovers with the youngsters, putting, because it had no money. And we used, because I had the hotel, I had a big, huge pot, a saucepan. So he took it along to the club. We didn't have any food for the players. He used to go home after training. So I said, well, come on, let's try and do something for the players. So we used to go down the shop. Me and John Brown used to go down to the shop, buy about 12 cans of baked beans, 12 cans of spaghetti, and about 5 loaves of bread and butter. And we'd go back to the club and we'd put all the beans and spaghetti into a saucepan and we'd like stir it up sort of thing, like this in a cauldron or something like that. And then we'd make the toast, and you'd have toast and spaghetti spaghetti and beans on toast for lunch, and the players. And sauce. Players loved it because they didn't have that before. And they'd heard about it, other clubs, top clubs have it and all that sort of thing. But because they're like in the second tier of Scottish football, they thought this was great. So we used to do that. You couldn't do it every day. You get sick. It might be a bit windy in Scotland. So we used to make sure that we got it done. And it was great. You used to burn your hands on the toaster. There wasn't a toaster. Those old grills when you have to put it under the grill in the oven. And you used to try and get it out. And you used to burn the tops of your thumbs on the cooker. Things like this. Great days.
So you went on to get success, didn't you, with Motherwell?
Yeah, well, eventually went to Motherwell and became manager. Eric Black had resigned because the club went into administration, sacked 19 players, which isn't good. Jesus. Should have got relegated the next year, my first year, but Falkirk didn't have a stadium fit for the Premier League, for the Premiership. So we stayed up. But I invested well the next season, and then we ended up doing very well. We ended up in the top half of the Scottish Cup, of the Scottish Premiership, and then got to the final against Rangers in the League Cup. We had a great 3 minutes and then lost 5-1. But no, to get there from Motherwell, the budget, you're looking at about £1.2 million a year for the team, for that with bonuses, appearance money, goals, and all the things you wanted to put structure. 1.25, and we used to play Celtic. And Celtic had someone like George Samaras, the Greek player, good player, international player. He was on 20 grand a week, which is a million. So his money, one person's money in Celtic and then Rangers, would be our budget for the year. Yeah. So it was pretty bizarre how we did it, but it was quite remarkable. And I became the manager. And John Boyle was the owner of Motherwell. So we used to have. Me and Maurice Malpass, who's my number 2, we used to have meetings with John Boyle and Stuart Robertson, who's now, I think, CEO at Rangers Football Club. So the 4 of us used to go to a pub, to a restaurant, and have a board meeting, and then discuss the budget for next year. So the budget meeting took about 2 minutes. And we spent the next 9 hours drinking. And then I used to say to the chairman the next day, I used to say, Chairman, I said, remember you offered me £2 million a year for the budget. Did I? He says, did I? And of course Stuart would come in and say, no, you didn't. I remember all this sort of thing. But they were crazy days. But it sort of gave you, I was there 5 years and I really enjoyed it. But you come to a point where you think, can't do this anymore. You work in miracles sort of thing all the time.
Can't take them any further.
And then I had the offer to go to Australia, which was bizarre, but it was just wonderful. Great time.
Yeah. Was that before? When were you number 2 with George?
That was before that. So I had a season out in Australia, got them into the playoffs. With Sydney FC. We had a great lifestyle, which was great. It was brilliant. So a new change of board, so a new manager had to come in, and then I. Came back to Scotland where we lived, and I would and then had a job at Brentford, which didn't last very long. Board changed again, and they wanted their own person in, and then I got the job with George as a number 2, the assistant manager of Scotland. Which I said to George, you don't want to stay in the job long if you're going to offer me that position, you're going to get booted out. But he was great. He just said no. He says I want you with me. So. I had a great time. You're working with the elite of Scotland,
Yeah.
which is, it's not the elite of England, with all due respect, but it's still very, very good and committed players playing for the country. It's really, really fierce and proud players.
And also doing it with someone you know really well in George Burley. I guess.
Yeah, really well,
It helps,
George.
doesn't it?
So we got on really well, and we had some great times. We weren't there long because Scotland failed to qualify for the World Cup, I think it was. So
Yeah.
it wasn't, not great memories, but just being on the bench and being with George and seeing how he did it and all that sort of thing was, and working with top players, Darren Ferguson's and all, really, really, really top players. What was it? Barry Ferguson as well. Like unbelievable stars. And they were great. They were good with us. I was only ever called an English B. I can't say it. I mean, English B once.
Well, you can.
I think that was one of the players said that to me. No,
Yeah.
Laughed at me, but I didn't mind that. I've been used to it at my club anyway. But
Yeah.
it was Scotland, and in Scotland it's so different to East Anglia, so different to England.
Yeah.
It's very parochial, but it's intense. The passion.
Yeah.
Ipswich fans and Norwich fans, everywhere, they're all passionate. All Man United, Liverpool. But there's nothing like Scottish fans.
Yeah.
When you go up there and it's all or nothing with them. You call names every day and people hate you, but then people love you. But virtually everybody hates you because you're English.
Yeah.
It's just that underneath the surface thing. And
Yeah.
You look at the rugby, you look at any other sport with England, Scotland, it's fierce. It really is. And it's fierce every day when you're an Englishman working in Scotland.
Yeah.
But you learn to live with it, you learn to battle against it, and you learn to enjoy it. And we did.
And he had success at Inverness, and then he flipped the coin, and then he went to Wales. That must have been the same thing, surely, at Newport.
Well, I wasn't there that long to be called anything. But I went to Hibs, which was a mistake. I should have stayed at Inverness.
Yes.
I've been there 5 years. But, you think that's the right thing to do at the time, and there we are. You learn by a lot of things. The decisions you make, you have to live with them, and they're made in the best of your knowledge and the best of your experience, and what you think is the right thing. But we had a lovely place in North Berwick near Edinburgh, and it was on the sort of Gulf Coast where all the golf courses were. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But
Do you get back much now? Or?
no, I go up sometimes, and I do sort of afternoon speaking a little bit up there.
Yeah.
But there's a great company up there that helps run events for Rangers, ex-Rangers, former Rangers players. It's really, really good. And the fans are just, and it's lovely to be back. Whenever I hear a Scottish accent or I see something on TV, I'll always click onto that because that brings back so many special memories. Because on and off, for 25 years, we were up there for probably, 18, 19 of those years? Long time.
Well, you're always destined to move back to Suffolk. I hate to say in your retirement years because you're not retired, but
Virtually.
But you've been back here for 10 years?
I've been back here now for probably, we bought a house in 2012.
Right.
And it was our holiday home. And we used to come down with international breaks and summers and that. And we developed that, and then eventually got the bullet at Hibs. So we just said, come on, let's go down now and make it our permanent home. It's just lovely being back. And when you come out of Scotland as an ex-Rangers player and an Englishman, you lift the cloud above you off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you come back to England, come back to Suffolk, because you don't get, no one recognises you. It's like quite nice.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And it's really good. Obviously, I've changed a bit since I played here.
Well, not that much.
Lost my hair and all that. So, but it's just really, really nice, and you can relax because you're not. You sometimes walk the street in Glasgow, or not all the time virtually, and someone will go, "Hey, Butch, hey, Butcher," and then you look over, and you think, "What? Who is it? Is it a Rangers fan, or is it a Celtic fan, or whoever it is?" And they can call your names, or they can go, "Hey, big man," and all that sort of thing. So it's you sort of wherever you go, it's the car, the car park, or in the grocers, and getting your messages. Your messages.
Mm-hmm.
That's the groceries messages, not the actual telegrams and letters and all that. They're called messages.
Right.
Go and get them, and you can get a bit of stick. You're not, but they all love it. They all like to have a go at you, but like to praise you, but like to talk to you. In Scotland, Suffolk's different. You don't get a lot of people talk to you a lot, but when they do, they'll talk to you a lot. If you know what I mean. So it takes a bit of time.
Yeah, you must get recognised a lot.
A little bit,
all the time down here, don't you?
Yeah, but it's always nice. It's always really nice down here because of what I did for the club and for England as well. It's lovely.
Yeah, I mean that era of players are still the main legends of
Well,
the
absolutely.
football club, aren't they? I mean, what you guys achieved was
But yeah,
nothing
but
short of
it was,
unbelievable.
if you look at early 70s, the build up
Yeah.
from Bobby was when he was really building the whole club up,
Yeah,
and that was to be a part of that was really, really special.
yeah,
A lot of players came and went, but everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would talk to you about the really good times that they had at Ipswich and how much it means to them and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of thing. You know, he's like Marcus Stewart. You speak to Marcus Stewart now, bless him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's you know, loads of people. They all love the club and what it stood for, and the coaches and the country and the people and the fans. It's a special place.
Well, so many of the ex-players come back to this area, don't they?
Or stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
stay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, lots of players stay.
Russell Osman's moved back. hasn't
Russell
he?
Osmond's moved back. Millsy's here. Walkie's here. George's here. Big Al.
Yeah.
The Beat was here.
Yeah,
Lots of really good players. Simon Milton's. You know, all these. Lots of really, really good players and good friends. So the former Players Association is really strong.
Yeah.
It's thriving and doing very, very well, and it's good to see everybody.
So look at your illustrious career, which you talked about so eloquently today.
I'm bored of that. I'm bored of it.
Absolutely not. Do you ever look back? Is there anything you look back on and think, I wish I'd done that differently, or I wish I'd done that better? Is there anything?
Well, probably everything, but you know, generally, I think, no, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with it. If I was, I always just say to the player sometimes before games, who would you like to have, if you had a film about your life and your lifestyle, who would you like to play your role? Who would you like to play your role?
Brad Pitt, I would imagine.
Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Who would you like to play your role?
Oh my goodness.
Oliver Hardy?
Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais.
Ricky
Ricky
Gervais?
Gervais, allegedly. Yeah. Ricky Gervais.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like him as well. Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. But you're better than
I've
him.
got as much
Yeah.
money as him.
No. Mine was Liam Neeson.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
Liam
shout.
I can see that.
You probably have a gun or something like that, shoot people, but
Yeah.
no. And some of the, it was quite interesting. And so, what dog do you have? I should say to the players, what dog would you be if you were? And it's quite interesting. Someone
Yeah.
would be a Shih Tzu, they used to say, and a lot of them Dachshunds or a Terrier or a Rottweiler or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I mean, if you look at the Ipswich Town team now, you'd say, well, he looks like a Labrador, quite
Yeah,
gentle and all that sort of thing. Whereas Sam Morsey would probably be a little
Yeah.
terrier,
Yeah, he'd be a
snapping
terrier,
away,
absolutely.
things like that.
So you're enjoying going to watch Ipswich as a fan
Yeah,
now?
I love it.
No,
I absolutely love it. It's
pressure.
I come full circle. When I was a coach there
Yeah.
as well with Kieran a few years ago, it was just lovely to be back, and I wanted to do that to sort of round the journey off that I've been on, sort of thing, and I think it's worked out really well. And coming back now and watching the game and not having responsibility of changing the team on the Monday and who's injured and all that sort of thing, do the training.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. So I'm like you boys, just go down and watch it,
Yeah.
have a couple of pints or whatever, and just really enjoy the atmosphere. Because every time I walk into Portman Road, I get a tingle
Yeah.
all the time. You'd probably feel the same.
Yeah.
And I feel there's a little bit more of a tingle for me of what the
Yeah, of
memories
course.
I had of playing
Might be
there.
your age, Terry.
Might be. I get little tingles every now and then. It's not when I get to Portman Road.
Yeah.
Terry, we're unfortunately we're running out of time. It's been fascinating. We were asking before we sat down, weren't we? What should we ask Terry and all our guests as a last question?
Yeah.
And you had a good thought on that, so I'll let you fire it.
Did I? Well, no. It was just if you were gonna, what words would you put on your epitaph to describe yourself, how you've lived your life, really?
How many words could I have?
And
As
he's
many
right.
as you want.
If you
On
can
my
afford a big
epitaph.
Well, Spike Milligan famously said, "I told you I was
I
ill."
told you I was ill. Yeah. I would just say, local boy made good.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect way of ending up. Terry, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to drink much of your beer.
Cheers,
No.
Terry. Thank you, my friend.
Cheers, miss.
Yeah, you've done all the listening. I've done all the talking. You can see
No,
that.
that's the
Cheers, boys.
best way
Thanks
for
very
it.
much.
Thank you very much. No.